things we wish we knew before we turn 30 years old. Now, if you're in your 20s, then this may be of value, or if you're in your 30s or older, then maybe you can relate to some of these points. But Ricky and I are going to have a little chat. And I would love to know, Ricky, what's something you wish you knew before you turn 30?
Something I wish I knew before I turned 30.
That's the question.
So that is a great looking question. Only one thing comes to mind off the top of the head, and that is to look after your bloody body.
Look after your bloody body. Yeah, I agree. I don't disagree. But what does that mean? What does that actually mean?
It really hurts when I'm in my 30s. And I'll probably go back to all the sports I played, but stretch, recover, all the things that your dad probably told you to do, or your parents told you to do, that you probably thought you were invincible, you didn't need to.
Stretching.
Stretching is vital. Yeah, at the moment I feel like I need minor surgery every time I get out of bed, or to the point where I always pull a hamstring every time I cross the road.
You actually did pull a hamstring crossing the road. This is 30. Welcome.
Yeah, I think definitely look after your body, because it's not going to stay young forever. And
when you say look after your body, it sounds like, there's obviously eating right, eating well, but it sounds like stretching is actually one of the key things.
I'm talking about stretching. I'm talking about my job in my 20s was paddle beating, and kneeling on cold concrete for 10 or more years definitely takes its toll. Anytime I'm going to bend down, I feel the knees are going to break. Knees feel the cold now. So, yep, that all those memes you see on the socials,
on the social medias,
on the top ticks and all that, you know, of people feeling like they got shot by a gun, and that's how I feel every day.
Yeah.
Definitely wish I did more stretching. Definitely wish I did more ice packs or heat packs after sporting games. Definitely wish I cooled down. You know, going from playing intense sport to just jumping straight in the car and buggering off, as opposed to actually cooling down, letting your muscles unwind.
Now, before a football game, you actually warm up for a couple of hours, it seems. You apply an entire roll of tape, and then you proceed to go to the game 2 hours early, just so that you can warm up for your social game. So is that what you mean? Like when it comes to looking at that? By the way, that wasn't shots fired at you. I was just merely an observation.
I was just going to say,
what you mean?
Geez, yeah, social sports now is like a whole day.
It's a whole day event.
It's like wake up at 6 o'clock just to start stretching, or pre-stretching before I do the proper stretching. My body's so old. Yeah, like, definitely taking a toll. What about you? You must have something you wish you knew before you're 30.
For me personally, first thing that comes to mind is wearing sunblock every single day. Well, people wear sunblock because they don't want to get sunburn, which makes sense. But apparently, sunblock is the best prevention of wrinkles. So if you actually use it when you're younger, like in your 20s, every single day, regardless of what the sun's doing, doesn't matter about the sun, it's the ultraviolet radiation, apparently, that, you know, when it's a non-sunny day is actually pretty bad as well. Wearing that is a good prevention for wrinkles. So I wish I knew that. I'd literally started using sunblock every day when I basically turned 30. So I missed a trick there, but I do feel like it makes a difference. But yeah, if only I knew that, known that little bit of information when I was, in my 20s.
I wasn't sure this was terrible life advice or fun facts you didn't know.
Oh, there we go. It's a mixed bag. You have no idea what you're going to get, and we have no idea what we're dishing out. So, okay, what's something else you wish you knew before you turned 30?
Oh, one thing comes to mind because I am in my 30s, and I wish I knew that would go by like a bloody flash. I swear to whoever you swear to that when I was waiting to 16, that felt like it would never come. Then by the time I got to 18, I was like, yes, fine, I can drink. What's next? 21st. Oh, massive party. Parents are going to put it on. Everyone's going to come have fun. They're going to say some funny stories about me. It's going to be a big event. God, it's my 21st. Oh, God, I'm only 19. God, it build up. By the time I hit 30, I remember pulling down the Christmas tree. It's almost July.
You've done a few things since then.
It has gone by like a flash.
But yeah, time kind of speeds up when you're in your 30s. I totally feel that. I totally agree. I feel like now this year has just disappeared, and last year did, and the year before that, and it just seems to accelerate at a really scary pace. And I'm like, does it keep getting faster? Does it kind of stay at this tempo? Maybe I've never noticed it before. But yeah, I totally agree. When you're waiting to turn 18 or 21, time just went so slowly. And in my 20s as well, I feel like time went pretty slow. But when it comes to the 30s, I think it's just really accelerated. And someone said something to me not too long ago, and they said, oh, perhaps it's because it feels like it goes faster because it's not as much of your life. You know, in your 20s, a year of your life is actually pretty significant. But in your 30s, like, actually a year isn't that much in the grand scheme of things. Is that why it speeds up? No idea, but it just feels like it's going faster.
Yeah, a year's not that much in your 30s. That's a weird, pretty realistic way to look at it. There's so many special events that happen in the younger days, finishing school, deciding what you want to do, all those sort of events. When you're in your 30s, you should more or less have most things underway.
You still have birthdays, but you don't care about them as much. So your 30th is pretty big, or tends to be. But then it's like, yeah, what's another year?
You tend to try to forget your birthdays.
You're like, I want to go backwards now. I start counting backwards.
Yeah.
And oh my goodness, when you stop getting asked for ID at the supermarket, that's when consistently I've stopped getting asked for my ID now. And when I turned 30, I still was kind of getting asked now and then. It made me feel good, but now I don't get asked at all. And you know it's all downhill from there. You're like, oh no, they definitely become old.
It's a bit of a catch-22 though, because my body feels like it's moving in the world's slowest pace. But the year's going like that. Yeah. I wake up and it takes me 20 minutes to get out of bed. A whole day to play a social game of football. But yeah, I blink and another birthday's gone by.
It's bullshit. It's completely unfair.
It doesn't make sense.
So unfair. So you say that time's going faster, and that's something you wish you knew before you turned 30, that it would go so quickly. I'm going to kind of tap onto that, and I think something I wish I knew before I turned 30 was that things are probably going to take longer than you expect. So I had this whole vision in my mind of before I turned 30, I'd have 17 children, I'd be married, I'd have a husband. Absolutely, so it happened. I'd live in a mansion, you know, my dream job. Like I had all these ideas of what life would be like when I turned 30, because 30 just seemed like so far away. But I think we underestimate what we can achieve in a certain amount of time. So we underestimate how much we can achieve in, say, a year, but completely, we really actually overestimate, how much we can achieve in a year. And so for me, I think I really did think like that I'd have everything kind of figured out by now, and I don't. But also just knowing that things just take longer than you expect. Like building a business takes a bloody long time. Building up your career takes a long time, and other things you try your hand at, it typically takes longer than you expect. We don't factor in, illness, going off track, things happening, life just dishing us out fun things that we've got to deal with. Things take longer than we anticipate. And I think that's one thing I wish that I knew before I turned 30, so that I wouldn't be so hard on myself by having to not achieve specific goals that I set out for myself. I don't have 17 children, but at least I've got a husband with kids.
I'm glad you have 17 children. I couldn't think I could afford 17 children.
No, that's a bit too many, actually.
Could barely afford one wife.
Well, I am expensive. Expensive taste.
The lady of leisure.
I'd love to be a lady of leisure. But anyway, so moving on, we digress. So one more thing was something else you wish you knew before you turned 30.
One more thing that I wish I knew. You actually kind of mentioned it a little bit before in your little spiel before about us.
A spiel?
It was a little spiel.
I'm glad anything you say is spiel. Nice.
You don't have to have it all figured out.
That feels right, yes. I like that. I vibe with that.
You're vibing that?
I'm vibing that, yep.
So let's sort of expand, Ricky. Use your words, because,
it is podcast.
It was very good words.
People relying on it.
You mean I can't type it?
Maybe later. You could correct yourself later, but no, that's not how it works.
No, me for an example, I didn't know what I wanted to do when I left school. And then I sort of had they had a panic mode. I was like, I'll do a gap year and figure this out, because everyone's like, you got to have everything sort of, when you leave school, you got to know exactly what you're doing. You got to have your career in line. You go to uni, you're not going to uni, you go into a trade. It's like, oh, we never clue. I don't know. Stop asking so many questions. But yeah, so I took a gap year. It's great. Worked at Hell's Pizza. Was making like $280 a week. I was
making back.
I was making so much money. Didn't have any overheads, no power.
Yeah, mum and dad.
Yeah, mum and dad's $50 a week on, we got board.
Yeah.
Yep. So loving life at $240. I mean, petrol was cheap. It was a great life. And then gap year's coming to end, and Dad was like, so what are you doing with your life? I was like, oh, I might do another gap year. I was like, no. I was like,
slippery slope.
I was like, oh. So I was like, shit, okay, I need to figure out what I'm doing with the rest of my life. I was like, oh God, I'm 19. What am I going to do?
So old.
What am I going to do? So paddle beating was my trade of choice. I was like, I like cars, I like fixing things, and why not? Two and two together.
How come you didn't become an electrician like your dad?
That's a very good looking question. I went to be a Sparky because I had a mate. Oh, sorry, didn't go to be a Sparky. That's what Dad does.
Yeah.
I went to be a pedal beater because a mate at the time was in the same position as me, and he didn't know what he wanted to do. And he goes, oh, Voltec's got this pre-trade qualification for pedal beating. Oh yeah, I like cars. Like we took to with cars the whole time anyway. And I was like, okay, sweet. And he goes, yeah, and it takes you straight into an apprenticeship. Awesome, straight into a career. Beautiful. So I did that. Cost a little bit, but Dad contributed. Good old Dad.
Bank of Dad.
Bank of Dad, yep.
Chris.
Thank you, Dad. Name drop. And then, yeah, so I thought, this is my career, this is what I'm going to do. And when I got qualified, I was in my mid-20s, and I was like, this is me for the rest of the life. I'm going to be fixing cars. And done a complete 180. So you don't have to have it all figured out. Now I work for insurance, national manager, for someone that wasn't very good at reading or writing in school and thought they'd only ever be good with these things. You know, fixing things with their hands. My hands now go from fixing things to typing things. So I've had to become good at the keyboard and all that sort of stuff.
And thank goodness for Alexa, who can help you spell things.
I know, because you're terrible. You spell way too fast.
Too fast. But yeah, I love that. You don't have to have it all figured out. And yeah, as soon as you get out of school, it's like, oh, by the way, here's a book, choose your career. I'm like, oh my goodness, I don't know what I want to do. I'm really indecisive. I can't decide what I want to eat, let alone what career I choose. But yeah, you don't have to have it all figured out. I love it when you just do something, you go down a path and things just kind of unravel themselves to you as you go, and you make decisions as you go. And that's the most beautiful.
You're having trouble. This is a podcast. You're having trouble talking on a podcast.
Well, the shit out of luck, because there's no way that I'm going to be able to like speak English the entire time. But yeah, you like when you go into things and just give them a go and see how it pans out. I think that's the most beautiful thing there is about life, that you can never actually plan it to a T. Things happen that you weren't expecting, opportunities arise that you never would have thought of, and it's all about going with it and seeing where it takes you, because literally you can't predict the future. Even if you did pick your career out, who's not to say that in 10 years' time you find another career that's completely different that intrigues you.
I agree. I'm gonna age drop myself. I'm 33, so well, technically people would say you're halfway through your work life, right? Well, technically no, because I didn't start working when I was born, you know. So realistically,
what, your parents didn't put you straight to work?
No.
Should have a chat with them. I missed an opportunity.
I did work in a couple of Chinese sweatshops, but then I come over before but no, you know what I mean? So even 33, I'm not even near halfway through my work life yet.
Yeah.
So being 33, I've still got another 33 years left, at least.
Which you have not worked that long yet. So
No.
in the grand scheme of things, for people to have a career change in their 30s or like later, you've still got a lot of time left to be doing the working things. And that's a big chunk of your time and your energy.
I think always risk the biscuit.
Risk the bicky?
Risk the bicky. Good bit of key advice. Risk the biscuit.
Ricky says
Rest the biscuit, because it's never too late to make a change. It's never too late to try something new and fail something new. Like, the benefit of me is I've got a trade qualification, you know.
You got something to fall back on.
I've got something to fall back on. So if shite hits the fan, we're good to go. But be brave, be bold, and
be amazing.
Remind yourself that your body's... look after your body.
Wear sunscreen.
Wear sunscreen and stretch. Key points to take away from this podcast.
Slow down time. Know that things take longer than you expect. But yeah, you don't have to have it all figured out, and you never will. So keep riding that wave and see where it takes you.
Life is just fun, all right? And who knows what's around the corner, but that's the fun of it.
Precisely. Surprise! Here's a big, life-altering event. That's the most beautiful thing about it. But anyway, thank you very much for the chat, for sharing things you wish you knew before you turned 30. I had a good time. I hope anyone listening had a good time. And if not, don't really want to hear feedback. You've got nice things to say.
Yeah.
Please send us a message. But yeah, follow us wherever you like to listen to your podcast. We will be doing these once a fortnight. And yeah, thanks for listening, and we will see you next time.
This is Terrible Life Advice. Signing off.